What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp here, Wrestling Inc. podcast. Had some issues, as I mentioned early on, which you all did not hear. I'm in a hotel in Columbus right now doing coverage for the NXT show. Somebody said that they heard my Onnit promo, but nothing else. Yeah, obviously, this show brought to you by Onnit.com/wrestling. Save 10% on all of your great supplements. New Mood, Shroom Tech. I've had to use those this weekend. Alpha Brain to keep me awake, keep me going, things like that. Sorry about the mix-up. In a hotel in Columbus doing live coverage of NXT. Thank you all for being here. Also, check out ddpyoga.com/wrestling inc. It's helped me out a lot, helped keep me flexible for this fantastic show because, you know, we're doing backflips and all types of stuff, getting ready for this show. This event, huge one for the UFC. UFC 196. Don't know if it's a good thing, bad thing, indifferent thing for the UFC, but momentous to say the least. Conor McGregor defeated, and it wasn't like some robbery or anything like that. It was a Stockton slap, as somebody pointed out in the comments. Nate Diaz defeated Conor McGregor, submission, round 2. Kind of surprising. I thought that if this ended, it was going to end in round 1. But yeah, there seemed to be a lot of happy people. Conor McGregor, really polarizing guy, and not making excuses for either man. Nate Diaz took this fight on 10 days' notice and was not training for a fight. He always kind of stays prepared, stays in fight shape, things like that. But he was not training for a fight. He was obviously preparing for McGregor at some degree because he had called him out before, but obviously not to the level of where you would expect him to be prepared for a 5-round fight scheduled in a main event of a pay-per-view, a big pay-per-view at that. The size difference was just obvious from the beginning. Like we see the things like, you know, maybe 2-3 inch height advantage, 2 inch reach advantage. It was a way more than that. And that definitely played into Diaz's favor. Diaz just a big pay-per-view at that. Oh, and Raj has joined us. Size difference was just obvious from the beginning. Like, hey, did Raj join us briefly?
Can you hear me?
Raj Giri is here.
Hey, how's it going?
It is going wild, and thankfully you're here. I can get a drink of water now.
Yeah, I figured I had to call in with all the craziness going on tonight.
Yeah, what was your reaction?
Well, I haven't seen it yet. I've just watched the news. It was my wife's birthday, so we had a family dinner and everything. I have it recorded. I'm watching in the morning, but good God, what an insane night!
Yeah,
highlights and yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it was very obvious. The size difference played a major factor, a major benefit for Diaz. And Conor McGregor, as he gets in and out of guys like, I mean, Jose Aldo was almost tailor-made. He did exactly what Conor McGregor said he was going to do. But when you're preparing for Nate Diaz, you're preparing for something completely different. And closing that distance was a task for Conor McGregor and something he couldn't overcome. Were you surprised by this at all?
Kinda. I was telling my wife, like, if I was a betting man, I probably would have put some money on Diaz because there's no way he's, a 5-1 underdog. And I just think, hopefully this shrinks Conor's balls a little bit. Like he had been thinking he's unbeatable. He's saying crazy things. Hopefully this makes him realize that he can be beat and, not to think he can fight at heavyweight or whatever he wants, because I truly think he believes that. And, he wanting a fight with Robbie Lawler and everything. I think, and let's face it, from all the reports I've seen, he was doing well up until the last couple minutes, but
he was doing fairly well. Yeah.
Hopefully this gives him a little.
I had him winning the first round.
Dominating or anything, right?
No. I had him winning the first round, but it was a close first round. If somebody was said, well, I give that to Diaz, I would not have argued at all. But Diaz was finding success with counter strikes. Like it was a mess. It was a war. It was a great. And then there's the moment when you see McGregor staggered and you just think this is happening because Nate Diaz, both of the Diaz brothers. If they stagger somebody, there's no coming back from that. They're not letting up. That's it. He's going to do it. And this makes me think, I thought when Conor McGregor brought up, I want to fight Robbie Lawler, I thought maybe he could do it. Maybe. And, maybe with the reach advantage, it'd be a little bit different than Nate Diaz. But I'm sitting there thinking if Lawler tags him the way that Diaz did, McGregor's going to sleep. Are you still there, Raj?
Yeah, if Lawler tags anyone, the way from the highlights, the way Diaz did, you're going to sleep. So I think Conor McGregor, slow down a little bit, stick in your weight class, challenging Dos Anjos, that's fine, but don't think about welterweight. Clear your head a little bit, and I think this night is probably a humbling experience a little bit.
Yeah, I think 155 is the place for him to be. It's still surreal. And somebody says the UFC cover curse in full effect. That's a very good point. Ronda Rousey and Conor McGregor both on the EA UFC cover, which, let's be real, anybody in that game is cursed because I'm pretty sure it's not going to be that great. Yeah, somebody pointed out that you are next to a cage in your Google profile picture that is popping up when you talk. So how appropriate, Raj.
I'm what?
You're in your Google profile picture, you were standing next to, I believe, a UFC cage.
Oh yeah. Yep. That's from an old that's from covering a UFC a couple of years ago. But
Raj, was this one of your wine drinking nights?
Man, it's of course. Saturday. Saturday is my wife's birthday, of course, and I'm about to get in trouble here, so I got to get going here in a second. But I just thought I'd chime in, and then let you back to it.
Well, we will hear more from Raj about this on Monday. Obviously, we're going to talk about it some more Monday. But Raj, good to hear from you.
All right. Take care, man. Talk to you later.
Sorry if you all have to see me drinking out of the jug. Had to buy water wholesale out in these parts. But yeah, major upset. What do you guys think? I want to hear what you think on YouTube. Do you think there's going to be a rematch? Maybe at 155, maybe at 170. Obviously, Diaz ain't going to 145. Hard to believe or even think that maybe McGregor would even go to 145 again because those weight cuts, he looked like a different person. And somebody says the Onnit jug. Yeah, onnit.com/wrestling, y'all. That's what I'm about. But yeah, we got to remember Nate Diaz took this fight 10 days notice. Conor McGregor took this on 10 days notice, preparing for somebody completely different. He's a 145er, probably should be a 155er anyway. But Diaz is as well. So, I mean, I would love to see this fight again at 155 because it's going to be big money. But then again, you hold up the 145 title. Who's going to fight for the 155 title if that's the case? I don't know because there's no But yeah, it was under 2 rounds. I'd say that there's going to be a rematch down the line, but you don't know what to do with McGregor. There are still plenty of options. He's still going to be a big draw. But what this does for Nate Diaz, his stock, no pun intended, Stockton high, goes way up. And it's crazy because Nate Diaz is very ambitious and has often said some things that, we don't always agree with. Like sometimes he thinks he deserves title shots that he doesn't deserve, but he said it after his last fight. McGregor's getting all the things that he worked for. He earned it. He earned that win. He earned every bit of success that he gets after this fight. He earned the big fights. Huge. And Conor McGregor's still a champion. So, and I don't know. I mean, I saw the interest in Rousey, as crazy as it seems. The interest in Rousey shot through the roof after she lost, and that's really weird to say, especially considering what we're going to get into. Holm got beat. What a performance by Miesha Tate, you guys. Somebody who was never the belle of the ball, always a bridesmaid, never a bride. Well, I mean, she was 4 years ago, which is ironic. I'm out here at the Arnold Sports Festival this weekend. 4 years ago at the Arnold Sports Festival, I watched Ronda Rousey pretty much rip Miesha Tate's arm apart at the Arnold Sports Festival and take that title. 4 years later, she wins it. She fought a great fight. Even in the rounds that she lost, she didn't come in guns blazing. She used her footwork. She was cautious. She did a lot of the things that Ronda Rousey didn't do. I said this before, that in all the fights that Holly Holm fought before Ronda Rousey, it's like she was pretending those people were Ronda Rousey. If it were Raquel Pennington or some donk in Legacy FC, she would keep her distance, strike, get in, get out, avoid the clinch, regardless of if she could have wrecked them in the clinch or not. She was preparing for Rousey. Now she had a different test, and she performed very well against Miesha Tate. But when you saw Miesha Tate take Holm down in that second round, you knew it was possible. You knew it was a thing that could go down. And I had Tate winning that second round 10-8. And we had somebody asking, will Tate give a rematch to Holm, or is the Rousey Tate fight going to happen? Rousey is probably still out until November, which, I mean, I don't know. She said she was when Holly was the champion. I find it hard to believe that she would say, oh, I'm good to go now that Tate was the champion. If she does, that's kind of shady. But Rousey has some movies to film, so it's going to be a little while, probably November. And if they're good to go, there's probably a rematch this summer, maybe 200. They got to find something to stack that card with now, because they had 2 title fights at 199 with Cruz versus Faber 3 and Rockhold versus Weidman 2. We want to talk about that press conference here in a little bit too, because that was banana sandwiches. But and I had a lot of people saying that Holly Holm was a one-hit wonder and all that stuff. That's not true. She's one of the greatest female boxers I've ever seen. She has better footwork than about 85% of the men that I see fight. You never see her make footwork mistakes, and that's something that is missing from a lot of women's MMA as it evolves. But yeah, still a good performance by Holly Holm, but obviously her experience on the ground isn't there. Miesha Tate knew that, and I had a lot of people also saying that, well, if Miesha Tate took her down, it should be easy for Rousey. Rousey has no knees, you guys. Her knees are just wrecked. A lot of Rousey's takedowns are from the clinch because she's a judoka, and that should have been the game plan to beat Ronda Rousey all along. Easier said than done. Easy for me to say sitting on this side of a computer. But you strike, you get away, you stay the hell out of the clinch with an Olympic medalist judoka. That way she doesn't send you ass over tea kettle and put you in an armbar. That's what Holly Holm did, and she found success. However, she wasn't getting, she wasn't getting shots. Did I say Charlotte? I didn't say Charlotte. I think somebody's still just goofing around. Anyway, Holly Holm didn't get that same luxury against Miesha Tate for the full duration of the fight. Miesha Tate shot in, took her down, punished her on the ground. She threatened with a top wrist lock. I really like that technique. She threatened with a top wrist lock, then would throw the elbow across the face. Really underrated, underused technique. Elbows from side control against a girl like Holly Holm, who doesn't experience a lot of adversity, can be a wake-up call for her. But that 5th round was do or die, in my opinion. I had Miesha Tate winning the 2nd round 10-8, but I had Holm winning 1, 3, and 4. And it was pretty much the same round 1, 3, and 4. Holm dictated the pace. She controlled the fight. She played her game. But Miesha Tate went balls to the wall, dragged whatever the hell the word is. I feel like Vince Russo now. Stuffed pig. Dragged Holly Holm down, took her back, choked her out. Holly Holm refused to tap. She passed out. It was a remarkable heart from both women because Holly Holm didn't want to give it up. Do you all want to see a rematch of that fight? Is that what you all want to see next? Holly Holm was a couple of minutes away from winning that fight. Do you think it deserves a rematch? Or do you want to see Amanda Nunes, who won earlier in the night, or Juliana Pena? There are a few contenders now. Ronda Rousey, if she wants the title shot, guys, she's probably getting the title shot. She's beaten Tate twice. She's the biggest drawing name in women's MMA, maybe MMA period. I don't know. With Conor McGregor, we don't know how the Jon Jones thing will pan out. Kat Zingano hasn't fought in a long time, so she isn't going to get the title fight. Sarah McMahon got beat by Miesha Tate. Jessica she's got some work to do. So it's really Amanda Nunes, Juliana Pena, and Juliana Pena's had some legal trouble that she's going to have to overcome. So it's a 3-horse race. Holm rematch, Ronda Rousey, Amanda Nunes right now. And let's be real, a rematch with Holly Holm or Ronda Rousey is going to do a lot bigger business than Amanda Nunes at this point. Also, Nunes ran out of gas in that third round against her opponent tonight, but still pulled off the victory. Also, I want to know, what do you all want to see next for Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor? Give me some ideas. I'll talk about them here on the show. But yeah, this is a big night. This is one of the biggest nights in UFC history. Yeah, people are saying Sean's botching. I'm carrying a show by myself on like 4 or 5 hours of sleep last night, you guys. Horrible. Had to wake up early this morning to cover the NXT stuff. Somebody says that I should mail some on it to Conor McGregor. I don't think he's going to accept any of our mail right now. I think he's probably pretty pissed off. But yeah, so the options for McGregor: Frankie Edgar at 145 if he makes the weight. It's hard to tell if McGregor will ever make that weight. Go back and look at his weigh-in videos from the Aldo fight, from the Mendez fight. He looked horrible. I would be very surprised if he went back there. His coaches don't want him to. 155 seems like the place to go. But here's something to remember. Like I said, Dos Anjos, different kind of fighter than Diaz. But Diaz can fight at 155. So there's that Diaz problem for McGregor in that weight division. Not like Conor McGregor would run from that problem. I feel like Conor McGregor would probably fight him again on Tuesday, and I would say Nate Diaz would probably gladly accept that fight for the amount of money that they just made. But yeah, the wide array of possible fights from McGregor is still vast, sure, but not as plentiful as it was a day ago. But it's just, sorry, I'm stuttering here. It's just such a historic night that we saw. The biggest fight of the night, obviously, Corey Anderson and Tom Lawler. I don't mean that. But by the way, guys, what did you all think of that 30-27 Corey Anderson scorecard? If he won the fight, sure. I had it as a draw, actually. I had it as a 28-28 draw. 30-27 Anderson, that's rough. I don't know about that. Really terrible judging in that fight, 30-27 at least. If Anderson wins that, fine, no big deal. Also, Ilir Latifi won. He'll probably crack the top 15 again, getting above Nikita Krylov, but not a lot to talk about there. Somebody says it seemed fishy. I don't know if it seemed fishy. It's just a lot of the judges. It's not, I won't say fishy, because there was really no reason for like a screw job for Corey Anderson winning that fight. Like, I don't think UFC has big plans for Corey Anderson. Did you all check out that press conference? I believe it was yesterday, the UFC Unstoppable press conference, which had some all-time great trash talk in it. Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier went back and forth. Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Claudia Gadelha went back and forth. Dominic Cruz called Uriah Faber TJ Dillashaw's grandfather and said that all he has is a guillotine, an overhand right, and a new haircut. That was pretty crazy. Weidman and Rockhold threw insults back at each other. Khabib and Tony Ferguson tried. Tony Ferguson was there wearing his sunglasses, being McGregor light, but that doesn't work for him. He needs to try something else. But that's 5 fights I'm really excited for this spring. But yeah, somebody said that Cormier Jones promo was on point. Hell yeah, it is. You can tell those guys just don't like each other. That's one thing pro wrestling is missing. Just two guys with fundamental dislikes of each other, just going at each other. And oftentimes, and you know, they've got PG and all that crap and sponsors to answer to. But we've seen Vince McMahon drop F-bombs and say son of a bitch and bastard and stuff like that. So, I mean, add some livelihood to your stuff, WWE. Come on. Especially when UFC is out WWEing WWE. I mean, Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor, not going to get much better than that. And you know what the sad thing is? If those two guys were in WWE, they probably wouldn't get a chance because of their size. Nate Diaz, sometimes it seems like he can barely compose a sentence, and he put forth some of the greatest trash talk ever. On the way to this fight, he made fun of Conor McGregor's movement coach, saying that Conor McGregor didn't have training partners and he was too busy playing touch butt with some dork in the park. I thought that was fantastic. That was great. If a rematch happened, it would be worth it alone just for that trash talk. Dos Anjos wasn't keeping up with Conor McGregor in that department. Jose Aldo wasn't either. I don't know anybody who could, except for Nate Diaz, and Nate Diaz even looked shook. Obviously, he wasn't once he got in the cage. But I want to know from you all, at what point did you know that the Holm fight was over, and what point did you know that that Conor McGregor fight was going to be over? Personally, for me, when I saw McGregor staggered, I was like, that's it. That's it. Diaz brothers do not let up. When Diaz brothers smell blood in the water, they attack. And, you know, I've made it very clear in the past, Nick Diaz, I feel like he was matched up favorably in Strikeforce. He was given a lot of strikers, no wrestlers. He came to the UFC and he struggled because of the wrestling department. Conor McGregor doesn't have that wrestling pedigree, and he's facing Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz has stifled a couple of wrestlers. He hasn't ran into those problems as much. And Nate Diaz, I don't know if he took the crown, so to speak, from his brother, because he gave his brother a shout out and he said that he runs this MMA game now. Maybe that's a sign. I mean, Nick Diaz is going to fight. When he runs out of money, he's going to fight again. But Nate Diaz, I thought, was on the downslope of his career. And he is not. This is the biggest win of his career. It's probably going to be the biggest win of his career. And it just capped off a historic night. And here's the thing, guys. We were guaranteed history already after the Holm fight because Miesha Tate won. And we were going to be guaranteed history no matter what after that because either McGregor was going to lose or we were going to have a 145-pounder win at 170. Somebody said, any info on how much Diaz got for this fight? A lot. More than he's ever gotten from the UFC for any fight ever, I would imagine. Time for a swig of water, brought to you by onnit.com/wrestling. Go to onnit.com/wrestling. Save 10% on all the great supplements they have there. Downside of doing a show by yourself, guys. But there are a lot of fundamental things that Nate Diaz does that I don't think are the best. But when you're matching up with a guy like Conor McGregor and you have that reach, you have that relentlessness, you have the heart that he does, then somebody said, do you think Nate has made more money than Nick? I don't know. I think Nick probably made more money in that GSP fight than Nate did in this fight because that was a big fight. But when you have that type of mentality that the Diaz brothers have, they're going to throw. And if you've got a GSP in there, GSP is going to take him down 10 times out of 10. No question about it. As I mentioned, Conor McGregor ain't like that, but he tried to be like that once Nate Diaz hit him. But yeah, here's one thing I hate. I hate people that are like, oh, people are making excuses for Conor McGregor, blah, blah, blah. He is a 145-pound champion who was going to fight at 155 and instead fought at 170 on 10 days' notice against the guy who has fought at 170 before. McGregor has not. And this is a completely different opponent, as I said, than Rafael dos Anjos. Diaz, I believe, has been preparing for McGregor in some shape or form because he called him out after his last fight. Now, is that enough to say it's almost like offsetting excuses? You know what I mean? Like, McGregor has his set of excuses that he could use, and so do his fans, but so does Nate Diaz. He has the excuses, if he were to have lost, that he could use. They both also have arguments in their favor, reasons they should have won, like McGregor already having been in a camp, like Diaz having fought at that weight before, but they kind of offset each other. And quite frankly, Nate Diaz was just a better man, and he won, and he choked out Conor McGregor. Unbelievable still. I am almost as excited to see the post-fight press conference, which I'll have to wait till tomorrow to see because I'm up again in the morning for NXT coverage. But two historic moments. McGregor loses to Diaz. Holm loses to Tate. And not only that, we've got that image. You know who the big winner of the McGregor Diaz fight was? Holly Holm, because she's not going to be made into a meme now. Everybody's going to be too busy making the Conor McGregor memes to make the Holly Holm memes of her getting slept in the middle of the cage. But yeah, somebody said that McGregor needed this loss in order to learn his place. Kind of. I mean, by all means, he should be at lightweight. This was noble, and I don't know if I mentioned this before the mic started working, but don't know if I did afterwards. I was kind of hoping, I don't want to say hoping that McGregor won because I try to stay impartial, but I don't like weight cuts. Me personally, when I wrestled and grappled, I cut down to 149.9, and I almost destroyed my body doing that. I almost shut down my kidneys. I didn't know what I was doing. These guys do, but I've seen the pain that people go through and the experience, and it's terrible. I have teammates that go through it that drop a lot of weight and things like that, and it's vicious on your body, and it's not good for your long-term health or your career, really. Look at Anthony Rumble Johnson, a guy who cut down to 170 and has fought at heavyweight and is now one of the premier light heavyweights in the UFC. He put on that 35 pounds. He is a rare case. He's a rare case, and he didn't even fight at 185. Somebody says Conor does have the balls to step up on his weight limit. Yeah, respect to him for that. That's 25 pounds. Think of until you've grappled and felt the strength of somebody that much heavier than you. It's hard to understand. But when they got on the scales yesterday, 168 and 169, so they were both underweight. But when you saw it in the cage, that size difference was huge. And Conor McGregor had to change his style to try to close the distance and overcome the reach of Nate Diaz, and he wasn't able to do it. A lot of us wondered, how would that be with Robbie Lawler? Would he get in, get out? Would he strike him, knock him out? No, man, I don't know now because I think Robbie Lawler hits a lot harder than Nate Diaz. So I don't think I want to see that fight. Personally, I would like to see Dos Anjos versus McGregor, or I would like to see McGregor versus Faber at lightweight, maybe, or something like that. I don't think McGregor should be fighting at 145. I think 145 and 170 are unsafe for him. So yeah, people have said ready to see how Jones has changed in cage. Yeah, man. If you saw that interview he did with Ariel Helwani around Thanksgiving, he said that the Gustafsson fight was one of the worst things that happened to him. And I was told probably about 12 weeks out, he's not going to train for this fight very much. He showed up out of shape. If you all ever checked his Instagram, you saw Jon Jones's Instagram pictures. One moment. This is the ddpyoga.com/wrestling inc. Swig of water. But if you saw his Instagram ahead of the Gustafsson fight, you knew that he was out of shape. Brendan Schaub said it on the Fighter and the Kid podcast many a times. He didn't really train for that fight, and he still won it. It was a very, very close fight, but he still won it. And he said that made him think that he could just party and do whatever, and he could still win. And he continued down that path until his ignorant series of events last year with the accident and all that stuff. But Since then, he's taken up weightlifting and powerlifting, and he looks like a monster now. And I fully believe that after he beats Daniel Cormier, I got the itchy eye, y'all. After he beats Daniel Cormier, he's probably going to fight a couple more times, maybe Gustafsson, maybe Rumble, and then go up to heavyweight. And he looks primed for it. And the thing is, if we're talking about a serious Jon Jones, as opposed to one who, as he says, was just fighting to beat Daniel Cormier, not fighting to kick his ass, that's dangerous for Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier's gotten a little bit older, and he's no spring chicken. I think he's 35 or probably 36 or 37, actually. One of the older light heavyweight champions that has ever been in the UFC. I got Jones in that fight, you guys. Yeah, Cormier's about to turn 37. Not a good recipe for Jon Jones. What about Faber versus Cruz? Is that a fight that you all want to see? Is that one that you all want to see 4 years after it was scheduled? Somebody asked, did I vote today in Kentucky, Sean Trump 2016? I'm not saying anything about politics on a podcast because I don't want to divide my audience. I don't. But I did not vote in Kentucky today. I'm in Columbus, Ohio right now. I am not voting. I'm an independent, so I don't know if I'm able to vote. I don't know if they're like primaries where only Democrats or Republicans can vote or how that works. That's all I'll say. I'm right down the middle. I like to hear things before I decide. Somebody said, if you've watched UFC for over 5 years, you shouldn't be shocked that Nate Diaz won. No, not against a pure striker. Not at all. You know, it's weird to say. I think a guy like Frankie Edgar would probably have more luck against Nate Diaz because he's an excellent wrestler. Or Chad Mendez. That's a 145er that I think would give Nate Diaz more problems. Don't know that he'd beat him, though. But the skill set is, in Diaz's favor in a fight with Conor McGregor. How many fake fans turned on Conor tonight? You have no idea how many people angry tweeted us when I said, hey, guys, remember, McGregor took a fight on 10 days notice. And, of course Diaz did too. This is a 145er. Nah. But, yeah, lots of crazy stuff. We're going to talk about this more Monday, of course. I've been in Columbus covering this WWE Arnold Sports Festival NXT thing. Triple H showed up and Arnold Schwarzenegger. I kid you not, guys. Arnold Schwarzenegger used all of his one-liners, including it's not a tumor. He said it. I can't say it like Arnold, or I would. Among some of the highlights there, Bayley, as I wrote in the report, is over to a level beyond comprehension. Like, until you see live the impact that she makes on a demographic that you don't think that the WWE would usually get. I saw kids crying because Bayley gave them shirts or hugged them or shook their hand or something like that. It was unbelievable. I saw why WWE hired Mandy Rose. I'll just say that. Unbelievably good looking. Yeah. Dylan Miley, first time seeing him in action. A lot of rest holds in his match with Apollo Crews. Johnny Gargano was there. I was very surprised at that because I don't know if he's under a full WWE deal. He and Tommaso Ciampa were there. Ciampa signed autographs. Gargano wrestled, beat Riddick Moss. And the thing is, you look at the names that are up and down this list, most of the people who wrestled on these Arnold shows last year ended up on the WWE roster or the NXT roster TV-wise shortly after, like Dana Brooke, Alexa Bliss. They weren't really on TV before that, and they were shortly after. So yeah, we had a lot of people on the shows that I hadn't seen before. The Protein Brothers, man, those guys were green. It was King Constantine and Thomas Kingdon, and I have no idea why they booked them against these two. Dash and Dawson are just really good and worked around them, so that was cool. We also had one of the Indian talents, Kishan Rafter, against Dan Matha. That was really basic match. I think they were just trying to get them some. I would be surprised if those four guys, Matha, Rafter, Kingdon, and Constantine, ended up on the main roster, or not the main roster, the NXT roster anytime soon. Alexa Bliss was there, got a good reaction when she first came out. She's a Columbus girl, and I saw her crack a little smile. I actually interviewed her briefly, and it's funny, like, when you interview their talents, sometimes you're told where to stand, how to hold a microphone. So I'm like awkwardly holding a mic, and I'm like, I guess I have to like this, but do what you got to do to interview those WWE folks. I also got to speak to American Alpha, another team over with the ladies, you guys. There were ladies screaming for Gable and Jordan. And of course, they're just ridiculous in the ring. Gable and Simon Gotch put on a mat wrestling clinic. That was probably one of my favorite parts of the show was their mat wrestling clinic. Finn Balor ran around the ring and two-sweeted everybody after he beat Baron Corbin. He hit the Bloody Sunday on Baron Corbin. That was very impressive to see. Very glad to see him using that as a finisher instead of that coup de grace, because I don't like that finish. I've made no secret about that. There were 17 matches, you guys. That's a lot of wrestling. I love wrestling, but I've never been more physically and mentally drained. I was taking pictures. My fiance was there, like being my assistant camera woman and taking notes for me and things like that. Lots of crazy stuff. Braun Strowman did a Q&A. It was cool to hear him speak. He talked about how important the friendship of the Wyatt family has been to him. He also performed at the Arnold Sports Festival for a long time, so he's had a presence there. Also, Gable and Jordan did one. I spoke to them as well. You can see that interview on the main page. Gable said his favorite wrestler was Sting, and Jordan said his was Mr. Perfect. Cesaro did a Q&A, said it'll be still a couple of months before he comes back from his injury, and says that Tyson Kidd still has a while before a checkup. So not looking optimistic for Tyson Kidd, unfortunately. Eva and Mandy Rose did a Q&A for Total Divas, and Eva Marie was late to it. I'll tell you what, guys, if Eva Marie can get decent in the ring, she's going to be rich because she gets heat. To the level in which Bayley is over, that's the level of heat that Eva Marie gets live. It's really cool to see that. And that's, you just got to, if you can make them care, more power to you. Also, big match, Sami Zayn versus Samoa Joe. Sami Zayn won with a haluva kick. That was really cool. Also, big news, I think big news. It appears that the WWE is going to bypass NXT for Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows. What do you all think about that? Let me know in the comments section. I want to know what you all think about that. Carl Anderson, a Cincinnati guy. So I'm excited to see how this works out. And it's said that, they may be coming as a package deal with Finn Balor. The Balor Club merchandise and Titantron in full effect in Columbus. It's all kinds of Balor Club shirts there, so people are ready. But yeah, I'll be back to cover NXT tomorrow afternoon. The post will be up a little bit later. I'm going to drive home, work on it on my way home, or while my fiance drives. But I'll have that coverage up. We got a ton of pictures on the Instagram account from the Arnold Classic. Please go check out the Arnold Classic post I did earlier. We have a couple videos up. I'm going to be posting some more clips. Somebody says, no, Eva Marie. I just said Eva Marie. Or is that a statement with a question mark? No, Eva Marie, say what you will about her, and she's got to learn how to wrestle. I'm going to be honest. Mandy Rose is better in the ring than Eva Marie was this weekend. And it wasn't even close. Eva Marie had this, I don't want to call it a suplex, you guys, because it's like she grabbed, I think, Billy Kay, I don't know whose head it was, and just rolled. Yeah, and the pin was sloppy, and I want Eva Marie to be good at wrestling so bad because she's a heat seeker, but it's not working right now. It's not going down. But yeah, if you all have never been to the Arnold Sports Festival and want to check this out, I highly encourage you to do so, but I don't even attack the rest of the expo. WWE is in the front right corner of the whole expo, and that's all I go to because it's work. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff there. They do Q&As. Arnold and Triple H have been there both of the last 2 years. Kurt Angle was honored elsewhere at the festival for the International Sports Hall of Fame, which is cool to see. Mark Henry got inducted last year. Somebody says, Eva Marie's gimmick should be that she's a terrible wrestler. I think so too. That she just lets Nia Jax do all the hard work and she gets all these chances that she doesn't deserve. That's kind of to a lesser extent, the Matt Hardy gimmick in TNA. It's that he's this old guy who shouldn't get all these chances that he's getting, but he is. And, and he's getting good heat for it, the right type of heat for it. But, guys, we'll be back Monday night after Raw with Vince Russo to talk post-Raw. We're going to talk more UFC coverage. Definitely check that out. Like I said, stay tuned to Wrestling Inc. for all types of coverage of the Arnold Sports Festival. Onnit.com/wrestling. Save 10%. Support the podcast. DDPyoga.com/wrestling Inc. Guys, bear with me. This is my first time doing a show by myself. Thought I would have a co-host tonight, but Raj has a tendency to get crunk. I'm going to be honest with you guys. That's Denver life, I guess. But thank you guys very much. Of course, subscribe to the YouTube. Give us a thumbs up. Leave nice comments. I like you guys. Don't say I look like the Big Show. Somebody say I look like the Big Show. Why? I don't look like the Big Show. I'm not. I've got hair. I don't look like the Big Show. I'm only 6 feet tall. But thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. I told Raj on this podcast that I wanted to do like 7 nights a week, and he came back and he gave me 3 nights. So much respect to Raj for putting that type of confidence in us. If you want to see more podcasts, support the ones we have. Monday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. I'm on Wednesday and Thursday with Rob McCarran. People have been loving it lately. So check it out. Rob McCarran, one of the best podcasters in the business. Somebody says that Raj is going to suspend me 90 days for that comment. You know what? He didn't suspend me 60 days for drop kicking Vince Russo. So whatever. But thank you all again. I'll see you on Monday night. Take care.